So here they are. I haven't been here in a couple of months. As you can see, snow everywhere. You can see my little teeny camp. It's rather buried. Whoa, snow here is up to my knees or past, depending on the drift. And my fire pit, my tinker's tent, unfortunately collapsed under the weight of this New England snow. There's a little bit of bend in that hole. It looks like I can dig out my lean-to here and maybe clean off my shelf, put my gear up there and start shoveling out and make a fire. Sounds like a plan. You know, this thing's surprisingly intact, seeming we've had, oh gosh, I don't know, 8 feet of snow over the winter, and I threw this thing together to be improvised. Sure, I'm glad I put that shelf together. Give me a place to put that gear. Got that snow shovel, let me dig some stuff out. Okay, so like I said, if you look over here, you remember this tinker's tent from the videos, the inside, some of those, the front held up, some of the back ones broke down. Shoveling out here, I just wanted to show you, first time I opened this thing's been sitting here for a number of months without being used. It looks like, when you look inside, this thing has stayed very dry. There's my buck saw on the Howie's Challenge. Here's my insulation bed. And hey, you know, I'm really impressed. A little bit of snow got on the side. It looks like heavy snow packed down in off that side there, pushed the side in. Huh. Well, I'm going to clean it up some. As you can see here how deep the snow is. There's the chair I made. Got to dig out my fire pit. Okay. So the insides here, as you can see, got this little square shoveled out. I'm trying to pile some snow on either side. I mean, as you can see, I don't have to pile much. It's pretty deep. That way, I can kind of keep a little bit of a microclimate here, and maybe that will keep some of the breeze out if it gets cold. This fire reflector, which I angled for both of these, kind of would like to take apart and just reflect back into this one, because it's probably going to get pretty cold tonight. But we'll see how hard it is to do that with the frozen ground. Got about an hour worth of light left. And I have to tell you, the part that all this I thought would be hardest, which it would be, with the snow this deep and without snowshoes and without anything, it's going to be hard to get so much wood out there. So much wood, but it's going to be so hard to get to it and bring it back. Let's see how it works. The other thing is, I piled a lot of really nice pine needles in this one. I made it. It really looks like the inside of this stayed dry. I'm going to pull this open and I'm going to see whether or not I can salvage the pine needles out of that to fluff up that insulation bed. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, look here. Whoa. Plastic up. Dug this out. I mean, if you were here to knock the snow off, it would have been different, but as you can see, all of that is bent inside. But the plastic held up pretty much, and it's got mounds and mounds of beautiful pine needles that have been kept dry through this, well, mostly dry through all these blizzards. So I'm going to go get those, and if I look here, it looks like I've got a couple of nice logs here that I had at the front that I could saw up for firewood. Let's see if they're dry enough. I don't know. They look pretty wet. Let's find out. Okay, so as you can see, taking them out of there, there's still some left in there, but I got a pretty deep bed of pine needles here that I can fluff up. And now I'm going to take my trusty, ever-used Walmart tarp and cover this thing up and lay out my sleeping bag so I don't have to do that later. Then I'll grab the buck saw and wade out into the snow. Okay. So there we go. there is home sweet home for the night. Let's see if I can get a fire started here. How much wood I can collect. As you can see, maybe I don't have a whole lot of sun left. Let me see. Maybe it's like an hour. Thought I had less than an hour, but looks like about an hour and hour and a half. Alrighty. Now here's the very sad story of what can happen if you leave a perfectly good improvised bucksaw in your tent for months. Then come and think that when it's almost dark, you can just use an improvised bucksaw that's just been sitting there. Now I loosened it before I left, but when I went to tighten it up, it just snapped on one side. So we are going to be trying to do this with the hatchet my son gave me for Christmas, an Est-wing. I haven't used it yet. Let's see what we get with it. As you can see here, there's a lot of hanging deadwood, and I don't have a lot of sun left, as I've already said like a bunch of times. I'm not trying to harp on that. I know that I'm going to be able to make it through the night with that sleeping bag, even without a fire. So I'm going to just get enough deadwood for some heat for tonight to cook my dinner, and go with that. Now, I haven't really gotten that much wood, but the thing that I want to talk about is, you know, I wanted to do this. I don't have snowshoes. I thought about making some, but then I thought, well, you know, I just see what it's like in the snow. And you know, the snow on average is above my knee, a little above. But once in a while I'll sink up to my groin or to my hip, and I underestimated how exhausting it is to try to gather wood in this kind of snow. And so I bring that up because if this was a real survival situation and I didn't have my MSS with me, then I might be in trouble. I have a super shelter. I could have gotten more pine needles out of that thing, but to get enough wood to last overnight to heat this super shelter would have been an all-day task in this kind of snow. And well, like I said, you know, I got out here really late, you know, with only, you know, to begin with only maybe like 3 hours of sunlight left, because of all the things I had to do today. But if this was a survival situation, you would be exhausting yourself, sweating and pointing yourself to, you know, getting yourself to the point of exhaustion to get enough wood to make it through the night, which is interesting. Something to think about in the future for me. The dry leaves I gathered. Getting ready for bed. Gonna sit by the fire, stoke this for a while. Then I'm gonna turn in. Good night. Batteries run out a bunch of times. See ya. Well, you really can't see the full moon though, can you? So it's coming up through the trees. Probably in another hour or two it'll be up high enough that it'll be it's funny how small it looks on film. It looks so much bigger to the eyes. Anyways, sitting here warming up my legs and drying my pants. Oh. Oops, sorry. Well, here we are the next morning. You know, worked out well. I had to say I got chilly in the middle of the night. I guess because the insulation bed wasn't as thick as it probably needed to be. I mean, it was really thick. I've never camped this cold, you know, in temperatures this cold without a thermal pad underneath me. And that made a difference. I got cold, and like when you saw, you know, at my my 2:30 in the morning fire that I kept up till like 6 in the morning. Just got cold enough that I really needed to get up and keep that fire going all night to combat the chill that came up through the ground. So I'm going to putter around. I'm running out of batteries. I probably won't be able to film much more. I'm going to putter around today. Got some half-price Mountain House and Backpacker's Pantry. So chicken and rice or fettuccine alfredo for lunch. And maybe after lunch I'll head home. Thank you all for watching, and thank you Bushcraft and everyone involved in Bushclass USA.